Hi everyone. If you are a parent of a child in grade 4, 5, grade 6, 7, 8 and 9, then this is a suitable video for your child. So I'd like that when you see a video of this kind, you just forward the phone to a child, or you watch the two of you. And I also encourage you to click on the subscribe button so that whenever I post a video of this kind, you get to see right away on your phone. Now, as always, feel welcome. We are having English lesson. It is in grade 8. The strand is determiners, substrand quantifiers. We did it before. We want to continue with the same substrand, which is quantifiers. Previously, we talked of quantifiers. For example, we talked of a little, we talked of a few, we talked of some, then we talked of quantifier a few, we also talked of quantifier little, we also talked, and that one was the last one. We also looked at how they are used in sentences. But first, we looked at the ones that are used with the countable nouns, for example, a few and few with countable nouns only. And then we talked of the ones that are used with the uncountable nouns, for example, little and a little. Then we also looked at some that are used with both countable and uncountable nouns, for example, a lot of. Now, today we want to look at quantifier any, many, much, some, and lastly, several. But before we start the lesson, let me tell you what was expected of you by the end of this lesson. By the end of this lesson, I expect you to be able to identify quantifiers in written text. Number 2, use the quantifiers in sentences correctly. Now let us now start. So let us start with quantifier any. Any. Let us start with any. Now we use quantifier any with both countable and countable nouns. So one thing you note, used with countable and uncountable nouns. Used with both countable and uncountable nouns. Now, how do you use quantifier any in sentences? Number 1, we use any in negative sentences. We use any in negative sentences. What is a negative sentence? A negative sentence is a sentence that has words like not, does not, will not, have not, none, never. Now, how do you use many in such like sentences? For example, let me give you this example of a sentence, and you also try to write yours the other side. Number 1, let's say your mother always leave you with some work before she leaves the house, and one particular day, or maybe today, she has left without giving you some work. So you can say in a sentence that I have not been given any work. I have not been given any work. Now give a sentence of the same in your book. Write a sentence of the same in your book. Uses of any in negative sentences. Number 2, we use any in questions. We use any in questions to which answer expected is either yes or no. Is either yes or no. We use any in a sentence to which the answer expected is either yes or no. For example, assume you are in the house, maybe with your grandmother, with your grandparent, any other person in the house, and the person wants to send someone, and so the person goes ahead and asks you, are there any children in the compound? Are there any children in the compound? Write that sentence. Are there any children in the compound? Are there any children? Are there any children in the compound? As question like this, the answer expected is either yes or no. Maybe there are children, you say yes, there are. Or if there are no children, you say no, there are not. Now, where else do you use any? We've seen that we use any negative sentences. Another one, we use any in questions to which the answer expected is either yes or no. Number 3, uses of any. We use any in conditional sentences. We use any with conditional sentences. We use any with conditional sentences. For example, you can later on we will discuss what conditional sentences are. So just be patient. Now, an example of a conditional sentence with any. Someone can tell you, or let's say your friend has come visiting and your mother is asking you to if there is any food in the pot so that you serve your friend. So the mother can say, if there is any food in the pot, kindly serve the visitor. If there is any food in the pot, kindly serve the visitor. From your end also, I expect you to write a sentence which is conditional using any. So those are the uses of any. Now let us look at uses of some. Some as a quantifier. The next one, we are going to some as a quantifier. Quantifier, some. What does some mean? Some is used. Some is a quantifier that indicates indefinite quantity. Indicates an indefinite quantity. Some also used with both countable and uncountable nouns. Also used with both countable and uncountable nouns. Now, how do you use some in sentences? Uses of some in sentences. Uses. Number 1, we use some in affirmative sentences. Affirmative sentences. Affirmative sentence is also called positive sentence. A sentence that does not have the words like not, have not, do not. For example, of a sentence, you can say, there are some girls in the field. There are some girls in the field. There are some girls. There are some girls in the field. You can also say there are some children playing outside. I expect you also to write your own sentence. Then number 2, uses of some. We use some in questions to which the answer expected is yes. Used in questions to which expected answer is yes. Used in questions to which expected answer is yes. For example, now that we started doing this strand now that we started doing this strand sometimes back, I can now ask you, do you have some notes on determiners? Do you have some notes on determiners? And if you've been watching me, if you are a learner, definitely you have some notes. So the answer expected here is yes, I do. Do you have some notes on determiners? So the answer expected is yes. And then the other use of some. Some means not all. We use to mean not all. Another uses to mean not all. For example, I can say some of you will not visit the park. Some of you will not visit the park. Some of you will not visit the park. I also expect you to write your other sentence using some. Now let us look at uses of many and much. Let's start with much. Much used with uncountable nouns. Only. Used with uncountable nouns only. For example, you can say she served much food. She served much food. She served much food. We use some in negative. This is number one. Use number two in negative sentences. For example, you can say we were not given much work. We were not given much work. Used in negative. And then we also use some with interrogatives. Number three, we use some with interrogatives or interrogative sentences. What is an interrogative sentence? An interrogative sentence is a sentence that requires an answer. For example, is there much demand for exercise book this holiday? You know schools are soon opening. So someone can ask, is there much demand for exercise books? So we have used much in an interrogative sentence. Is there much demand for exercise books? Now let us see how we use many. So this is now much. We use much in negative sentences. We also use much in interrogatives. And note that much is only used with uncountable nouns. So let us look at many. One thing with many and much is that one thing that is similar with many and much is that they mean the same, only that many used with countable, much used with uncountable. But their uses just relate, apart from the fact that one is used with countable, the other one used with uncountable. So let us see uses of many. many. Used with countable nouns. Now, we use many in affirmative sentences. In affirmative sentences. For example, you can say, she has many books. She has many. She has many books. Then another use of many, we also use many in negative sentences. Negative sentences. For example, you can say, let's say, now that we started doing exercises online, we can say, we have not done many exercises. We have not done many exercises online. We have not done many exercises online. And then we also use many in interrogatives. Use many with interrogatives. In interrogative sentence. For example, now that people have come visiting, maybe some have gone to visit, I can ask you, are there many visitors at home? Are there many visitors? Are there many visitors? Many visitors at home? That is to do with many. Now the last one we have is several. This one you can just do orally. Several means more than two, but not many. For example, I looked for you at the market for several hours. Give another example from your side. Now, today we have been talking about determiners, any, some, many, much in sentences, and last we talked about several. Now the question is, are you able to use them in sentences? Can you make a sentence of your own using any? Try to make one. I have many textbooks. Do you have some friends? Another one, can you try making? Okay, so if you're my learner, we'll check definitely when school open. And if I can't meet you, then you read for your, go and write sentences using the quantifiers you have just talked about, and then read the sentences to your guardian, to your parents, as they check whether the sentences are correctly written. Now someone gives you a sentence and asks you, identify quantifiers. Let me read for you one. Identify quantifiers in these sentences. Number one, she gave the cat some milk. She gave the cat some milk. So which one is a quantifier? Obviously it is some. Another one. Another sentence. He drinks much water after cycling. He drinks much water after cycling. Which one is a quantifier? I hope you have written and your guardian is trying to help you. Obviously it is much, because we have talked about quantifiers. Any, much, some, several, and plus the others that we talked about the other time, a little, all those are quantifiers. I hope you've written the one that I've just talked of several. You've written that sentence down there. Or let me write for clarity as we wind up. I say several means a number that is more than two, but not many. Several is a group that is more than two, or an object that is more than two, but not many. For example, in a sentence, several, using in a sentence we have, I looked for her for several hours. Several. Okay, that is it for today's lesson. Please do continue reading ahead, and as you read, note the quantifiers. As you speak with your friend, try to use the quantifiers in your oral conversations.